Hello, God bless you. Thank you for joining me today. I'm blessed to be here in this wonderful pool, taking advantage of the sun and rejoicing in the Lord. It's just a background. I just put a background just to tease you a little bit so that you can say, wow, man, it's a nice idea to be in the pool. Qué lindo el día, Señor. Today, we're going to continue our Bible discussion titled Healing, but we're going to be talking about spiritual healing. Hoy pues vamos a continuar la discusión de sanidad, pero vamos a estar hablando de sanidad espiritual. And as I spoke last week, that we're going to be translating our discussion today, and from now on, because someone needs to, in the Spanish world, they need the translation, they need healing. Everyone needs healing, but I want to take advantage of the opportunity to share it in Spanish. Todo el mundo necesita el mensaje de sanidad, pero especialmente los hispanos y todo el mundo. Pero hoy pues de ahora en adelante pues voy a traducir la plática y esperamos que usted pues se deleite en el Señor. Last week we were talking about healing, and we were referring to God's name, His healing name. And His healing name is Jehovah Rapha. And we said that the people of Israel needed, God to heal them, and God needed for them to recognize Him as the healer. So in Exodus, He gave them that wording that said that if they were to depart from evil, that He would be their healer. Semana pasada hablamos de que en Éxodo que el Señor pues le dijo al pueblo de Israel que ellos necesitaban un sanador y que si ellos se apartaban del mar y le seguían, pues Él iba a ser su sanador, Jehová Rapha. And today we're going to continue, but we're going to talk about spiritual healing. And the reason why we want to talk about spiritual healing, because healing goes back to Adam and Eve. And what Adam and Eve did back then, they disobeyed God, but it was a spiritual thing that happened. They didn't die physically. They died spiritually. Atrás en Génesis, en Adán y Eva, pues la razón que queremos regresar a Adán y Eva, porque de ahí fue que surgió la necesidad de sanidad espiritual. Adán y Eva pecaron delante de Dios, pero ellos no solamente pecaron delante de Dios, ellos murieron espiritualmente. Al apartarse de Dios, a seguir sus deseos, a seguir la voz del enemigo, causó que ellos se apartasen de la presencia de Dios y fuesen echados del jardín. So for Adam and Eve to have sinned before God, they not only sinned before God, but they died from His presence. And their disobedience didn't heal them, it killed them. And they were cast out from the garden. And little by little, man has been cast out from the presence of God, and therefore the need for spiritual healing came out when Adam and Eve sinned. When Adam and Eve decided to disobey God. So la necesidad para la sanidad espiritual nació de Adán y Eva, y ahora pues poquito a poquito de la generación adelante el hombre ha tenido la necesidad de ser sanado espiritualmente. And so today we're going to discuss this, but I want to mention a little bit about the paralyzed man that we talked about last week, because we're trying to make it a point to bring a case study of healing. So, la semana pasada hablamos de el paralítico que fue cargado por los 4 amigos, y cada lección pues tratamos de traer un caso de alguien que necesitaba sanidad. And so if you allow me, I'm going to go to my meats so that we can go through and see the verses that we're going to talk about. Voy a ir a mi otra página para ver los versículos que vamos a estar hablando. Permíteme. Oh, snap. Un momentito. Come on. Ya estamos ahora. Ahora mismo, ya viene, ahí está, sal, come on, ándale, ahí estamos. Pues, ahí estamos, muy bien. Okay, we're good. All right, so now, like I said, we're going to be discussing a case. And we want to see how this person was spiritually healed. How this person found himself in a great need, and his physical ailment, his physical illness resulted from a spiritual condition. La necesidad de este caso, de este hombre, resultó, la necesidad física era resultado de su necesidad espiritual. And so, in our, hopefully it's gonna come out. Come on. My internet's going slow today. It's going slow poke. Está lenta la máquina hoy. Vamos. We're going to be talking about Naaman. And Naaman, he was a leper. Naaman was a leper. And let me just snap. And Naaman's condition of leprosy was that his flesh, if anyone knows a little bit about leprosy, his flesh was coming out. And people didn't want to be around person that whose skin was falling apart, and besides that, they believed that it was contagious. A nadie le gustaba estar junto a alguien que tenía. Pensaban que se le pegaba la lepra. Y Naamán, pues, fue sanado. Who was Naaman? Well, Naaman was this Assyrian general, one of the highest general in the Syrian army. And he was a well-respected person, high morals, very loved person. Everybody liked Naaman. The problem he had was leprosy. Naamán, un general del ejército de Asiria, que era bien reconocido, bien respetado, una persona que todo el mundo amaba. And in 2 Kings, and we're going to read just a little bit of what happened. But before we read, we want Naaman's leprosy. Naaman's leprosy was really bad, and he searched desperately for healing. La lepra de Naamán era bien mala y él buscó intensamente por sanidad. And it so happened that the Assyrians sent bands out and they captured this little girl from Israel who knew that there was a prophet in Israel that could heal, that had the power to heal. Pues el pueblo de Asiria mandó unas bandas a recoger cautivos y de ahí sacaron una niña que sabía del profeta que tenía el poder de sanar. Esa niña la pusieron en la casa de Naamán y ella rapidito le dijo a la esposa de Naamán que había un profeta que le podía sanar. So they took this little girl and they put her in Naaman's house, and she told Naaman's wife that there was a prophet in Israel that had the power to heal and that Naaman could be healed. And so Naaman went and started to find out, and he got permission from the king, and he went on his journey to find the prophet. Naamán pues sacó permiso del rey y fue y se embarcó a buscar al rey. And so in verse 9, we're going to read from verse 9 on, and it says, so Naaman went with his horses and chariot and stopped at the door of Elijah. Elijah sent a messenger to say to him, go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed. But Naaman went away angry and said, I thought that he would surely come out to me and call on the name of the Lord God and wave his hand over the spot and cure my leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the rivers of Israel? Couldn't I wash in them and be cleansed? So he turned and went away enraged. Naaman's servant went to him and said, my father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, wouldn't you have done it? How much more then when he tells you, go wash and be clean? So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him. And his flesh was restored and became clean like that of a young boy. Y dice, Y vino Naamán con su caballo y con su carro, y se paró a la puerta de la casa de Eliseo. Entonces Eliseo le envió un mensajero diciendo: ve y lávate 7 veces el Jordán, y tu carne se restaurará, y serás limpio. Naamán se fue enojado, diciendo: he aquí, yo decía para mí, ¿saldrá él luego y estando en pie invocará el nombre de Jehová su Dios? Y alzará su mano y tocará el lugar y sanará la lepra. ¿No son mejores que todas las aguas de Israel? Si me lavare en ellos, ¿no seré también limpio? Y se volvió y se fue enojado. Mas sus criados se le acercaron y le hablaron, diciendo: Padre mío, si el profeta te mandara alguna gran cosa, ¿no la harías? Cuanto más diciéndote: lávate y serás limpio. Él entonces descendió y se zambulló 7 veces en el Jordán, conforme a la palabra del varón de Dios. Y su carne se volvió como la carne de un niño, y quedó limpio. Now, let's look at this. Here is Naaman. And Naaman's illness was incurable to man. Naaman's illness was bad. In fact, it was so bad that he could not live with his spouse and his family. He had to be masked. He had to come once in a while and be with his family. And being in such condition, it's not an easy thing. It's real hard, and especially with the responsibility that he had. Estando en esta condición de lepra no era fácil. Imagínate. Naamán no podía estar viviendo en su casa. No podía estar con su esposa ni con sus hijos. No podía hacer nada. Él simplemente tenía que hacer lo que tenía que hacer cubierto. Y tenía responsabilidades grandes. Imagínense, era capitán general del ejército, que se requería mucho servicio de él. Pero esta enfermedad lo tenía. He didn't know this was a spiritual thing. He didn't know he was, this originated from the spirit realm. He just thought, man, what a pain in the neck. And when you have an illness that is uncurable, or when you have something that is, is hard to cure, several things come upon you. Anger, bitterness, resentfulness. These are things that come upon a person who has an illness, who has a sickness, and they're coming to man. It's normal to feel angry, and you're probably going through something. You're probably having a sickness, and you're probably angry, and you're probably bitter, and you don't want to talk to nobody. You don't want to deal with anyone, and anyone that gives you some kind of remedy, you'll take it lightly, because this is for real. This is hard stuff, just like Naaman. Como Naamán, una persona, quizá tú estás mirando hoy, tienes una enfermedad y tienes algo que agonia tu carne, tu vida, y una de las cosas o ciertas de las cosas que le pasan a una persona que está en esa posición, con esa molestia, es que le llega el enojo, la ira, que le llega el resentimiento, la amargura, y cualquier persona que te diga, mira, haz esto, uno como que se molesta, porque tú sabes, eso molesta y ya uno pues ya está cansado de eso. Tal como nada. And Naaman, his his condition was of desperation. He came to Elijah's house and he expected something great. Something more. Make a vigil, make a calling on the name of the Lord, and do something. Go to fasting, or go pray for me. Lay hands on me. His expectations were really high. And I guess, that happens when somebody raises your expectations, that you find yourself, expecting it. You find yourself, hey, wait a second, this can really happen, and then when it doesn't happen, oh my goodness, cuando no te sucede, cuando no te sale, uno pues se siente defraudado, uno se siente como que le mintieron, uno se siente mal, uno se siente como que, esto está mal, amén, que tumba, no, que mal, me dejaron plantado, no me sanó. Y eso es lo peor de uno. Imagínense, uno se siente mal y ahora emocionalmente, espiritualmente, pues ahora uno se siente que no le surgió lo que deseaba, no le salió lo que uno quería. Te afecta tu oración, te afecta tu fe en el Señor, te afecta tu comunicación con Dios, con la iglesia, con los hermanos, te afecta espiritualmente. It affects you spiritually. It affects your prayer life. It affects your faith in God. It affects your expectations in God. You go to church and you say, they say, hey, go to church. We got this guy coming that God uses him in healing. And you go to church and all of a sudden you come back and nothing happened. You didn't get healed. You feel let down, like God let you down. And so your faith in God is kind of minimal. It's kind of like not there, God, I've been waiting for you. You haven't healed me. Señor, tú no me has sanado. Estoy esperando en ti. Y como que la fe declina. So Naaman, when Elijah told him, go to the Jordan, dip yourself 7 times, and you're going to be healed. He flipped. He said, man, I could, they could do something different, something greater. Cuando Eliseo le dijo Elías le dijo a Naamán que fuera al Jordán y se bañase 7 veces, se embullase 7 veces. Naamán dijo, está loco este chico, que voy a meterme en la agua esa, y no hay otro lugar mejor, no hay, ¿sabes? La expectativa de él estaba bien alta. Él esperaba mucho de Dios. He waited, he was expecting a lot from God. And one of the things that when your spirit is ill, that your faith is not there, but your expectation is kind of winding down. Because, faith, in the definition of faith is expecting, right? Faith is expecting the unexpected. Faith is that thing that you You don't see with your eyes, but you're waiting for it because you know it's going. La fe, cuando tu circunstancia, tu enfermedad está ahí agresiva y tus expectativas son altas, esperando que Dios te sane y esperando que Dios te sane como tú quieres que te sane, como tú esperas que te sane, y no llega, pues tu fe declina. Y la fe, pues la fe es esperar aquello que no se ve, la convicción de lo que uno no ve. Y esa convicción y esa fe pues no está ahí, porque eso es una señal de enfermedad, que tú no le crees a Dios, tú empiezas a dudar a Dios. Spiritual illness, a sign of spiritual illness is when you start to doubt God, when you start to have high expectation to God and feel that He's let you down when He doesn't do it when you want it, how you want it. See, God doesn't work the way we want, when we want. He does it the way He thinks and the way He wants to. And so when you don't see it the way you want it, your faith in Him kind of depreciates, and you start to feel like, oh my God, He let me down. But one of the things that I want to share about Naaman was that, and we shared this last week, and it was that when he walked away angry, and by the way, it's okay to be angry. The Bible says, be angry but sin not. But it says, don't let your wrath, don't let the sun settle upon your wrath. So you cannot let anger take over you. And one of the things that we talked about last week was that this paralyzed man, his friends brought him to Jesus. It wasn't necessarily his decision to go to Jesus. It was his friends' decisions to bring him to the Lord, to make sure that he made it in front of him. And likewise in Naaman's servant said, hey master, if he would have told you to do something great, wouldn't you have done it? Just a little, take it, push him. Algo interesante que aprendimos la semana pasada fue, y lo vemos aquí con Naamán, es que los amigos que llevaron al paralítico, ellos llevaban al paralítico. El paralítico no necesariamente quería llegar al Señor. Ellos tomaron la iniciativa de treparlo por el techo y meterlo por un roto. Ellos hicieron el esfuerzo, la fe de ellos lo llevó a los pies del Señor. Y aquí en Naamán vemos que después que Naamán se fue enojado, y la Biblia dice que está bien, puede estar enojado, pero no peque. Y no deje que el sol se ponga sobre tu ira. No te puede enojar mucho, porque el enojo causa enfermedad espiritual. Pero después que Naamán obedeció la voz de su siervo y escuchó el razonamiento, él fue y se zambulló. Y allí fue que llegó la sanidad de Naamán. En la obediencia llegó la sanidad de Naamán. in his obedience came his healing. See, obedience is that medicine for spiritual healing. If you're, if you have an illness, a physical illness, that for sure originates from your spiritual condition. When you start to obey God, when you start to say, okay, God, you know what? I'm going to do what you say. I'm going to be obedient to you. No matter what, no matter how my flesh is, how I'm feeling, that I'm falling apart in pieces, you know what? No matter what, I'm going to obey you. And in that instance, your spirit receives healing. Because spiritual illness receives healing when your mind is transformed, when there's a transformation in your mind. La sanidad espiritual empieza cuando tu mente es transformada. Pablo dice que tu mente tiene que ser transformada, que sea transformado por la renovación de tus pensamientos. Y cuando tus pensamientos son renovados y tu mente es cambiada, entonces es que empieza la sanidad espiritual. Y después de lo interior se manifiesta lo exterior. Se sana tu cuerpo. So, Paul says that be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So, when your mind is being transformed, when your mind is being changed, your interior is being changed, and your spirit is being healed. And then when your spirit is healed, then is your flesh healed. So you can find a healing of your flesh, of your body, when your spirit is healed. And that's the point that we want to get to. We want to be able to get to that point of healing. But if you tried all medicine, you've tried doctors, you've tried going to witchcraft, maybe those people that read your hands, or you tried many different things, organic products, remedies, and nothing is healing you. You try treatments and you try many things and nothing works. Well, here is what works. You take and you go and you heal your spirit first. You allow your spirit to be healed first. And after your spirit is healed, then is when your flesh is healed. Primero, sana tu mente, sana tu pensamiento, sana tu fe, sana tu espíritu. Tu espiritualmente, sánala. Y después que se sane tu espíritu, entonces es que se sana tu cuerpo. Your flesh gets healed. So, in summary, you're going through illness. You're sick. You have illnesses. You have things that in your life that need a healing. And maybe you're quiet, and maybe you're hiding, and maybe you don't want to tell nobody, and maybe you want to keep it to yourself. Maybe you just don't want to hear it from anybody else because all your hope is lost. In fact, that's probably why you don't come to church. But that's another story. And because, you're watching today, I want to tell you that servant that tells you like they told Naaman, go Do that simple task that God is requiring. Go wash yourself in the Jordan. Obey the Lord. You know what? You know how to obey God. You know how to get back into church. Maybe you backslid. Maybe you left the Lord and you stopped going to church and you stopped the fellowship of the church. Maybe you stopped that. Maybe you need to come back to the Lord. Maybe you need to come back to church. And I want to clear something. When I say come back to church and then come back to the Lord, first is the Lord.